All right, good afternoon. Good to see you guys. I'm glad you're here. Man, I just got done watching the work study live Zoom today. That was unbelievable. I'm coming back to that in a minute, but for me, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe how relevant and how accurate that man spoke to your lives. That was one of the best I've ever been a part of. I had to get off for a phone call, but that was the best hour I could have possibly spent. And I loved watching your faces engage as you became aware of the relevancy to it, to your life. So what a great time. Great to see you all today. And I hope your Wednesday's treating you kindly. All right, ACT prep. There's a couple of you that still have not accepted invitations to the Google Classrooms. I'm kind of watching that. If you have not and you're watching this, please do so you can get in on the work that's there for you. The math video was uploaded yesterday. Haven't seen the science one yet. Mr. Edwards kind of spoke to that. Sent him an email to see if maybe that would be coming. But that math video was uploaded. I watched part of it. I thought it was very good, very helpful in just strategy to know how to handle the math on the ACT. And then also a reminder, tomorrow is your English and reading live Zoom with Miss Kim. So any of the work that she asks you to do in preparation for that, make sure you check that box. You come ready at 12:30. That'll be a great class. We all love Miss Kim. We know how enjoyable that will be. All right, what I really want to do now is ironically talk about the word for the day that the ACT test will kind of highlight for you. I'll get to it in just a minute, but I wrote this kind of little bit of information down for you. It just helps us to kind of validate this thing is real and people are beginning to see the value to it. When they asked educators about how they could potentially see it being used, 46%, almost half of them identified the value of kind of finding areas of need and then assigning specific intervention. That's a huge word, that word right there. What they say, the educator says is, if we have a test that can help us look at a student and see an area of need and then intervene, in other words, get to the cause of that and help that become a growth area in their life, we will produce better students. That's a powerful thing for you and for the educator, because educators want to see you grow. That's the point of being an educator. And this tool, those educators believe, almost half of them believed, this would provide opportunities to intervene in your life in areas that needed growth. That's a powerful statement, and I wanted you to see it. Okay, let's look at our word for the day. Yesterday, we looked at the word resilient, talked about that a little bit. Tomorrow, we're going to look at the word teamwork. But today, I want to kind of highlight this word grit or conscientiousness. Now, pause, and we'll go back to Mr. Fisher in our video today or our live Zoom. Everything that man spoke about had to do with grit. The stories he told, the uphill battle that he faced and still faces with family. Even his description of what type of student he was. How did he say it? The one who sits in the back, kind of the head down. Nobody would have pointed to him and said, well, there's the future, right? But something inside of him said, I want more. I can achieve. That's the essence of grit. There was no test that was telling him, yes, this man's full of grit. But something in his soul. Now, we know that now because he tells the story. One after another after another. Working 40 hours during your undergraduate from midnight to 8 in the morning? Are you kidding me? That's unbelievable. And he did that during undergrad. Driving 2 hours at 5 in the morning to Memphis during his doctorate. 5 years to do it instead of the 8 that is the norm to get your doctorate. everything about that man revealed grit. And I loved it when he talked about it. In my mind, I knew it was already on the board and we were going to be able to highlight it. But I just want to encourage you, if you heard anything, and I know you heard so many things, we're getting text messages from them, but if you get anything from that, know that what will set you apart from everybody else that you rub shoulders with in your high schools, grit is going to be one of those things. What does grit measure? This test would show you if you have the kind of propensity to be persistent. If they use the word effortful, but do you have that desire to put forth effort? That's just a powerful thing. Do you see yourself? Do you kind of reveal in who you are as being a goal-oriented person? Mastery-oriented? In other words, I'm going to master the subject. I'm not just going to check the box and get on with it. I want to make sure I know. That's mastery of what it is that you're putting your hand to. Is that a tendency of yours? That's a byproduct of having grit. Clearly, we heard Sean talk about that today, and how that mentality right there then allowed him to be on that committee that he is in Arkansas now, to travel to different parts of the world and talk on behalf of Arkansas history and things like that. His desire to master his craft internally through grit has put him in a position to talk like he talked today. Powerful. Those who exceed expectations. You know, it's easy to match the norm. Yeah, I'm kind of good. I'm like everybody else. Not saying that's a wrong thing, but some of you have that desire to go, you know what? I want to push past the norm, what's expected, and I want to exceed that, to take it to another level. This test will help you find that in yourself. And those who pursue challenges. It's one thing to face a challenge. It's another thing to pursue a challenge. You go after it. I'm coming after you. That's a different mentality. Grit is represented in that type of mentality. Man, we're on to some neat things. Very energized from today. All these things have kind of dovetailed together from what Miss Stephanie said yesterday, what Mr. Sean said today, what we're saying about these social and emotional learning skills. This stuff is crucial for you, and I'm glad you're buying in. Have a great afternoon, okay?
Hello. So we just finished work study, and I loved that. So the whole time I had planned to actually sit here and just listen and get some other work done, but not too long after Sean started speaking, I was just watching your faces, because so many of the things, he was pretty blunt. He's a pretty blunt dude. I've known Sean for over a decade. Very direct, and is very honest and transparent, and actually really vulnerable. And I loved watching your faces. I got nothing done, at least in terms of paperwork, which I intended to do. But I watched you all respond and react, and several of you have already texted me, and I love that. Honestly, that is my dream work study, when you get challenged and inspired and encouraged and emotional, and you also hear really hard truths. And I love that he tied in a little bit of what we talked about yesterday in my class. I love that he spoke to the concept of there being a culture of poverty. There's actually a book called The Culture of Poverty, and I feel like it would be really difficult for so many of you to read, because it would be so personal. But conversations like that are some of my very favorites, the hard but important conversations. And so if there's anything that Sean talked about that you're like, hey, I actually want to talk more about this or learn more about this, please talk to me. I think most of you know that history and political science, social science, was my undergrad degree as well. He and I have the exact same undergraduate degree. He now is a history professor, and I am a counselor. And we both just love people and want to help people, and we do it in very different ways. But I loved that. I love that whole thing. If you want to thank him or Joe, who spoke on Monday, we're going to have 2 more speakers next week. You can always write them a card and we will deliver them to those people. Or if you send me a message, I can send you their email so that you can just send them a personal message yourself. There's a lot of encouragement if you speak to a group of people and then hearing back that was impactful. So if you want to say thank you, please just let me know. I would love to connect you with Sean or Joe. They're just really stand-up people. So I'm glad that you're enjoying part 2 of Summer Academy so far and that it's been really beneficial to you. Speaking of part 2 and hopefully being beneficial, those of you who've turned in your reflections from yesterday's class, I've loved reading them. Up till now, I've responded to everybody who has written to me. Several of you have not turned in that paper yet, so don't forget that that's due by 5 o'clock on Friday. That needs to be done. Tonight, Mafia Night by popular demand from Miss Aaliyah. Definitely will work better if there's more people, so just come join us. And let's see, I don't know, I'm just really grateful for you guys, and I think I'm constantly in awe of your willingness and ability to grow and to learn, but also to listen. Part 2 of Summer Academy in so many ways is just wisdom. Like, we are trying to wisdom to you. And you're going to see that next week with financial literacy. Hopefully you see that in my class and in our work study speakers, just gaining perspective and a little bit of insight, which helps you with discernment, which we talked so much about yesterday. It's just been really, really great. So I love my job and I love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday, and I will see you tonight.